Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to get a perfect flow to an explanation, and so I'm going to have to jump backwards and forwards a little bit in some of the discussion that I make here. But let's finish off in the basic steps. So far I'd gotten you to the computer. I'd made a couple of comments about the fact that the basic things that you're doing in the computer is recording and then embellishing the sound. I'd hinted that there are also some pre-steps and pre-work that you've already done in the computer before you actually sing, and I'm going to come back to those. But just so that we don't lose the finality of the steps, what I'd like to say is, once you've done your magic in the computer, then you have to come out of the computer with the signal, using now digital to analog conversion, and then you have to connect with your speakers or your headphones so that you can listen carefully to what you've produced. And most people who write and record songs go through what they call an iterative process, where you just keep repeating this until the whole product gets better and better. Now, the first thing I want to say is, if you happen to be the singer, and I've shown you how to stepwise get this beautiful signal from your voice into the computer, it's not very usual for somebody to do that without having some sound going on to which you're going to sing to. The first thing you really do is to make sure that before you do your singing, you've laid down a beat. You'll have laid down the beat most typically with the drums, and you'll have laid down embellishments of that beat with the bass. You may then well have added in some basic guitar work or some basic keyboard work, and this will therefore provide you with a rhythm and a speed and also some melodic aspects. It may just be chord progressions, but there may even be a melody line that you fitted in, and that's what you're going to sing on to. Now, once you have done that basic singing onto the basic music, which may be no more in terms of basic music than a beat and a chord progression, the next step is you have to start laying down more and more tracks. Now, sometimes you find out that you lay down more tracks than you need, and then you withdraw an instrument. But whatever it is, you're going to be adding more instrumental sounds, you're going to be adding more melody, and that's basically what's called laying down extra tracks. What happens next are two very, very important steps. Now, some people like to make a very complex discussion about these important steps, one being mixing and the other being mastering, but I'm going to keep it simple. On the one hand, I'm going to acknowledge that this can get pretty complex. On the other hand, I would prefer to keep it simple at this time. With regard to mixing, this is a complex subject, but I'm going to try and just introduce a few thoughts. I absolutely recognize that this is not a big textbook on the subject. I'm just going to try and keep it brief. One of the key aspects of mixing is making sure that the various voices in the song and the various musical instruments are placed in the right part of the stereo field. Some of the instruments or voices will be in the center of the stereo field, others will be to the left and or right. And so I just want you to grasp the idea of placing instruments and voices in the most appropriate part of the stereo field. Another aspect of mixing is working hard to try and make sure that the volume levels of the individual voices and the individual instruments is pleasing and correct. Another couple of aspects of mixing that I want to touch on are the use of tools such as equalization and compression to overall get a better sound, and also the use of effects such as delay or modulation to maybe spice up the music a little bit, just get a little bit more interest. So those are some aspects of what you do when you try to create a good mix. You're looking for the right place in the stereo field. You're looking for the right individual levels from a volume point of view of the music. You're dropping in effects, and you're changing perhaps to some modest degrees or sometimes to a major degree the nature of some of the sounds through the use of such tools as compression and equalization.